everybody, my name is Cameron Roberts. I'm the Digital and Community Editor here at Matter Media, and today I'm joined by Michael Gietzen, who is the MD at Identity. We're going to talk a little bit about the challenges of running G7 during the pandemic, and a little bit about what you can learn from what Michael did at the G7, and what you can find out more about at International CONFEX later this year. How are you doing today, Michael?
Very good, thanks Cameron, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I guess just diving straight into it, I understand this is quite a broad starting off point, so please take it wherever you'd like. I mean, give me some background into organising the G7. How did this year's one differentiate from previous years?
Good question to start with. I think it was definitely multifaceted, this project. So I think if you take the fact that this is the first international summit held in the UK since Brexit for us, so a huge lens on the coming together of the world leaders. It also happens to be the first, I think, international gathering globally since the pandemic. And then the fact that we have a hybrid event on our hands, and maybe the first time that's been done for a G7. And really, I think that the fact that it's been held in Cornwall was also something different than previous summits being had. So you kind of take those really key benchmarks to the event, and then if you think about the nuances that are involved in something like a G7, so really unlike other events, you're thinking about the quantity of global media, world media that are attending the event. You're thinking about the fact that the delegates themselves are amongst the world's most powerful people. You also got to think about the security detail that goes into an event of this size that makes it challenging and provides a unique nuance to delivering a conference or a summit of this nature. And then, of course, I've mentioned it, it's the first international event since the pandemic, but obviously we're delivering an event during the pandemic, and it was early enough before all of the regulations relaxed a bit. So we had a lot to do from supply chain through to the actual live events themselves. And then finally, one of the key things really since the last 18 months, not necessarily born out of the pandemic, but is the emphasis on sustainability and social value projects. So it was complicated, and I think that the thing that makes this event so special and so unique is the fact that it is multifaceted, it's highly complex, there's a lot of moving parts that go into it, which as the agency that deliver it delivered it makes it so exciting.
Yeah, and I obviously want to touch upon the, you mentioned the high level of delegates, and obviously doing it during the kind of the height of, not maybe the height of pandemic, but during the pandemic, certainly. I mean, how did you communicate those kind of COVID-19 safety measures to the participants, and were they receptive? How did you kind of, how did you communicate those like security details as well? What were all kind of the moving parts there?
So whenever running an event of any scale and size, someone would always talk about communication. So I don't think that is unique specifically to this event. I think what played into our hands was the fact that we had probably about 14 months worth of rhetoric from the government, cultural change, understanding about space, all this sort of stuff, and so we were able to build upon what was happening nationally and internationally around COVID safety protocols. Now, clearly, we were doing something really unique by bringing together 2,000 delegates or so during the actual event, and we probably had about 1,000 crew during the build. So really, it started from the planning phase with regards to COVID protocols, educating the team. We had videos, PowerPoints, induction programs, and then on site was very much where it kicked in. And so ensuring that daily testing was undertaken, that informational signage was provided, hand sanitization, thinking about ventilation of rooms, the way that we worked, scheduling was a huge part of it to try and reduce the crossover. Going back then even earlier when we were in the office space, was thinking about how we can mitigate risk by separating the team into different groups so that key responsible people for areas never met at the same time in the same premises. So an awful lot of procedural work that happened to safeguard really the success of the event, because that's probably our single greatest point of risk.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I want to ask about one particular delegate.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, it was President Joe Biden's first international engagement since his election, if I'm correct on that. I mean, what impact did that have? It's obviously you talked about world media earlier. I imagine that would heighten that focus even more so. I mean, where did that play into your considerations?
Well, firstly, it just ramps it up a notch. So it makes it really exciting whenever we refer to as POTUS comes to town. It's not the first time we've had to do this. So in 2019, we delivered the NATO summit in London. And so that was President Trump's visit to the UK. And so understanding the complex security detail and the delegate experience that is required for a president is not unique for us. It's not the first time. However, it was his first visit, and so therefore that kind of protocol rule book goes out the window, and you're uncertain about what might come with this. And I'll talk more about it at CONFEX, but it is incredibly exciting. You know, the Air Force One, Marine One, Mini Beast, the entourage that comes with it, the rehearsal program that happens, and then indeed just the leader of the free world is under your kind of care as part of the delivery of the project. And so it's like exciting, but also just very stressful and just takes really it's testament to the agency. It's all about planning and communication, again, ensuring that it's a kind of a seamless gig that we deliver.
So obviously you've spoken a lot about how you had to do COVID safety measures, you had really high level delegates, there was a lot of moving pieces going on. And I feel like you at the G7 had to deal with those at a really elevated level. But I mean, what are the learnings that event organisers at maybe smaller events or less profile events can take from your project?
I've spoken about it before. You know, it is multifaceted, and the way that we approach a project like this is just boxing up, decompartmentalizing each of the elements. And I think it would be remiss not to talk about COVID first. It was a huge factor to this project. And whilst certain elements of COVID have relaxed, I think event organizers can take a lot from G7. You know, we have some 1,000 plus crew, including all of our stakeholders. I imagine it's into 10,000, 20,000 people that were associated with the project, and as well as a couple of 1,000 delegates that are there. And I think there's a long-term benefit from the learnings that we've got from this project, how we provide safe. And one of the important factors of this project was that people felt relaxed and confident in attending the event. And so there's lots that I can share about that. Security is a great part of this project, and so of dealing with a project of this scale and the impact of having a national police force involvement in this, and there's other elements like CI, MI5, all this sort of stuff. So there's a lot of exciting stories to share around that. Another part of it is the hybrid element. And so I think this is probably, whilst they've been doing various Zoom calls, this isn't just your average Zoom call. And so when you bring an organized event like this, it is going to be under a significant amount of security risk from hacking and breaking into the networks that we're created, particularly for this event where India need to come in remotely due to COVID reasons, that, it's delivering what we've all been doing as an event industry, but to probably the high standards you mentioned. And I think another really great thing to take away, apart from all of the elements, is that the region provided its own challenges. And so from rail and road networks in there, and particularly that it was set in an absolutely idyllic, beautiful region, but we as the events agency had to deliver on a beach up a cliff rock face. And so it presented a lot of challenges. And also just a region that isn't like hosting it in London, where you've got the experience and resource available at your fingertips. But the benefits out of doing it somewhere like Cornwall was the social and sustainability elements that we could bring to this. And so I'm definitely not going to go into detail, but I will do at CONFEX, where we break down more about the social value projects that we delivered.
So you leave me in very well there at the end. So just to kind of wrap things up, obviously you're talking International CONFEX this September. I mean, give me a little bit of a sort of potted reason why people should attend your event, what you're speaking about, why is your Why is your talk kind of a must attend?
So firstly, thanks very much for inviting me and talking about G7. And I'm going to try and split it up into two things. One, I'm going to treat it a little bit like a dinner party. And so we sat around a table, I'm going to be interviewed, but what are the stories that I can share about the event, which really encompasses all the excitement and theatre that comes with hosting the G7 in such a beautiful region that I've spoken about, the nuances of the different world leaders when they attend an event like this. And then really I want to break it down into kind of the theoretical side of just thinking about key learnings that we spoke about that anyone delivering an event of this scale to this audience can take away, and particularly around approach to build, approach to the management, approach to sustainability and social value. So really, I just want to kind of take everybody on a bit of a journey of what the UK government are doing to represent the events industry on an international stage.
Fab. I'll obviously be on site, so I'm very much looking forward to coming along to your talk. That is actually all the time myself and Michael have for today, but if you want to find out more about what Michael's talking about or about the International CONFEX agenda overall, you can visit international-confex.com and you can find out all the info there. But thank you very much for joining me, Michael. And for anyone watching, see you all next time.